The moment I stepped out of the fitting room in my wedding dress, I froze. Because Noah's family's adopted daughter is twirling in front of the mirror in my same wedding dress. Noah anxiously explains, Lucia is unattached and she wants to try on a wedding dress. So when I've had enough fun with her, I'll be with you. Lucia raises her eyebrows lightly. I don't think my sister would mind. Would she? Aren't we always the same? As the words fell out of my mouth, it dawned on me that what I had was never more than one half. Nowadays, even the wedding dress, even happiness, has to be shared. I laughed, with determination. In that case, the groom is giving it to you too. I don't want it. Later, his eyes were filled with despair. Mar, please, don't share your love. Chapter 1, #. What about the wedding? Why don't you just get half of that too? Why don't I give it to you with the groom? I don't want it. When I finished, I took off my wedding dress and stepped on it. Lucia, my adopted daughter, pushed me away as she carefully held up her wedding dress and pointed out the footprints on it to my fiancé, Noah. Noah frowned slightly. Mar, what are you fooling around with? We've been planning for the wedding for so long, and I designed the dress myself. It's that time of year. Put away your childish tantrums. I pointed to Lucia and coldly questioned, you designed the wedding dress for your own bride. So, in what capacity is she sharing my dress? Lucia, her eyes red, looks down and wipes her tears. Sister, I just thought it would be fun to wear a wedding dress and wanted to experience it. If I upset you, I won't wear it. Sister, you mustn't be angry with brother. Noah handed her a tissue and in turn turned his head to me. Mar, Lucia is so young. What could she know? She's just curious. I've told you. I'll come and take wedding pictures with you after she's had a little fun. What's there to be angry about? I stare him in the eyes. So, this exact same wedding dress is what you got her? The sudden aggravation that hit me made me choke out. Noah, do you even understand the meaning of the one and only in this life? He showed a hint of impatience, but his gaze still rested on her, reaching down to straighten her veil. Upon closer inspection, there were fine pear blossom accents behind her veil. I smiled to myself. Maybe Lucia was the star of the day. My heart was breaking little by little, and I just couldn't stand all the strange looks coming from the neighborhood. Noah, I've really had enough. And it's not like we have to get married. Noah suddenly catches up to the door. Mar, don't think about it. Okay. I just think of Lucia as a sister. Her real parents are gone. You're her future sister-in-law. Let's be more tolerant of her. Okay. Do you think of her as a sister when she only simply thinks of you as a brother? Have you ever heard her call me sister-in-law? He froze, opening his mouth but unable to speak, suddenly feeling so tired. I closed the door quickly behind me in a wretched state and left, walking to stay seated by the river. A short while later, Noah and Lucia come over as well. Lucia smiles and takes him by the arm, pinning a pear hair clip to the front of his suit. He fiddled with her, full of helplessness, but followed the gesture of comparing hearts. She took a few beautiful photos and posted them to her friends. Ding. I'm taking wedding photos. My brother is so handsome today. Some good students commented. Congratulations on the happy ending. 100 years of happiness. She replies. OMG, you're so bad. Shy. JPG. The sunset was so beautiful on this day. Noah's hair was shining and so many people were taking pictures of the sky. There were also quite a few sneak peeks at them. Unfortunately, it was one of the hardest twilights I've ever had. As night fell, I updated the dynamic. The story is good up to here. Years of feelings, once cut off. The heart still some dull pain. Chapter 2, #. Lucia was 15 years old when both parents died and was adopted by Noah's family and later sent to our high school. On the day of the college report, Noah accompanied Lucia to the school, took my suitcase by mistake, and inadvertently blushed. When he turned around, He called my mom, Auntie Juan, with a surprised look on his face and talked about the old acquaintance between the two families. After that, he used to run to school to deliver things and would always bring me desserts, saying he was thanking me for taking care of Lucia. He was a model brother to us, thoughtful and gentle in every way. Then later, I accepted his confession. Lucia, however, suddenly flips out and is obstructive. After Noah's forceful intervention, she apologized, saying she just wasn't used to having outsiders in her life with her brother. I used to blame myself, thinking that brother and sister love is deep, and I also helped her and protected her in every way. Noah is 5 years older than me, gentle and courteous, and rare in its innocence and sincerity. He would patiently instruct me on my studies and buy me breakfast to accompany me to my elective classes. While I was fretting about rewriting my paper, he was in a computer conference, distracted from time to help me find literature. We traveled together, sitting side by side in the small courtyard of a bed and breakfast, watching the sky fill with stars all night long. In the forest where streaming fireflies roam, he put on my hand-designed glowing frosty bracelet and said fondly that he would love me forever. I was convinced that we'd be hand in hand until the end of our days. Soon, however, Lucia intervenes with a threat of self-mutilation. He panicked. Dad told me to take care of Lucia before he left the country to recuperate. I can't leave her alone. When dating, she would also always find a way to get close or call Noah away for some other reason. Anything Noah gives me, she either quietly takes or pesters for the same model. Gradually, one copy of everything I had was shared out, and then he simply prepared 2 copies. And so, the days of our relationship were marked by a third person around every corner. Without realizing it, I was in tears and got up to go to the bathroom to tidy up. I didn't expect to hear Lucia's voice in the inner room. I have a way to get my brother to kick her whenever I want. Such a good brother. Of course I have to keep it for myself. How can I willingly share it with others? I'm not his real sister. The disguise comes off, and I finally realize that her goal was never to steal and monopolize Noah. For the first time, I was confronted with human evil. Yet it was clear to me that I stood no chance of winning. Just like last year's Eve, I prepared the cake carefully and waited for Noah to come back. It is Lucia who arrives first, holding a small black cat and throwing it onto the cake with abandon. The cat instantly bounced up and scurried around the living room and rooms with a full load of cream. Noah added helpfully. Lucia said she didn't mean to do it. She just didn't hold the cat in a moment of sore hands. Turn around and don't let her come back. Okay, don't be mad. I'll make the cake with you tomorrow. That night, we both didn't clean up the mess until midnight. That was the first time I lost faith in our future. The call from Noah came late after arriving home. Mar, don't be mad. We'll reshoot tomorrow, okay? I'll stay with you again. I interrupted him. Noah, I'm serious. Since you can't give her up, I'll have to give you up. I don't want to put on a show of bride theft at a wedding and be laughed at again. He froze for a moment and hastily remedied the situation. You're the one I'm going to marry. It's always been you. How could I give you up for someone else? I said helplessly. But you chose to accompany her through the shoot after all, didn't you? When it comes to choosing between the two, I never have a chance of winning. Chapter 3 He was anxious, his voice flustered. But she's my sister, and you're my fiancé. There's no conflict between you at all. Before the words left her mouth, Lucia's petulant voice came from the other end. Brother, I forgot my spare underwear. Can you go out and get them for me? Remember to feel the material and choose a more comfortable silk. There was a touch of levity and hidden glee in her tone. Noah reprimands lightly. Don't talk nonsense. Let Auntie prepare these things for you. The other side didn't give up on the provocation. Is it okay if I stay in Sister Mar's room? Brother, you can't refuse me anymore. I snapped, raising my voice. Don't let her touch my stuff. I'll be right over to clean it up. So let whoever you like live there. After hanging up the phone, I rushed there, and my eyes were met with chaos. Albums of drawings were scattered on the floor along with white dresses, and there were a lot of footprints on them. She leaned against the doorframe and smiled smugly. I did it on purpose. What can you do? Don't dream of it. My brother wouldn't kick me out for you. She wiggled her wrist, and it was clear that it was the same type of glowing jewelry as mine, with pear stickers on the frosty blossoms that she had put on it. My most cherished gift is finally no longer just mine either. When I cry, I have everything. My brother's greatest heartache will always be for me. You're pissing off your brother so much. Do you want me to teach you how to nestle in his arms and pout? She slams over a couple of photos of her coal-coated hand over Noah's abs, and an ambiguous, extreme waist-kissing photo. It stabbed me with a dull ache in my chest, as if someone had tugged at my heart and broken it off piece by piece. She whispered, "Noah, he owes me his life. He can't get away with it." All the anger was crushed in an instant by the powerlessness that surged up. The photo in my hand shifted as I squeezed it, leaving a light trail of blood as I flung it into her face. I threw things into the sack one by one with a dry motion. Noah pushes the door in, and Lucia stands behind him, holding her face and pretending to cry. "Brother, she hit me. It's bleeding." He was stunned, his eyes hovering between me and her, his tone laced with a few moments of bemusement. "Mar, why are you throwing all this away? These were long ago destroyed by your good sister, and naturally I had to throw them away." I didn't lift my head and coldly spoke back to him. He frowned. "Lucia is indeed capricious. I'll rebuy for you. Okay. One who wreaks havoc and destruction, and one who chases after it to make up for it formulaically. Noah, you siblings really work well together." He opened his mouth to argue, but his voice lowered. "You've taught her a lesson, and I'll speak well of her. Can." I gritted my teeth. "Noah, that's enough. You good siblings need to stop grossing me out. I don't want to spend the rest of my life mixed up in this mess, unable to break free. Chapter 4, I slammed the bracelet down hard, my voice shaking slightly. You can see the scars on her face, but what about the ones on my heart? Crisp cracking sounds rang through the room, and I looked at him intently. We both can never go back in time. As if struck by my determination, he suddenly covered his chest and crouched down. There was confusion and struggle in his eyes as his hand lifted and dropped, not daring to touch me after all. I lifted the bag and strutted toward the door, leaving him standing in a daze among the debris. When I got home and slowed down, I talked about the breakup, and my mom was all for me. I thought he had a sister who would love people more. Who would have thought that he would make my daughter suffer so much? There are plenty of good boys, and someday Mom will introduce you to a better one. He can't handle himself. He's not blessed. We won't accompany him in this suffering. Within a few days, I received another call from Father Joe. Mar, Uncle has always supported you. Lucia and him are absolutely impossible. Isait, Uncle, we can't go back anymore. Too much has happened in between. The other end added, I'll get her out of the country right away. I can't let her hold you up. Before I could respond, I hung up. In the evening, my cell phone was ringing off the hook, connecting. On the other end of the video, Lucia stood on the balcony and screamed shrilly, I'm an orphan girl. Don't I have the right to pursue happiness? Why does everyone want me to give in? Obviously, I have nothing left. Obviously, I'm the one who needs to be loved the most. She looks to Noah with teary eyes. Do you hate me for having nothing too? Are you going to bully me and drive me away too? I didn't. I won't. Lucia. Noah looks at her in pain, but is afraid to step forward again. He rolled his eyes at me in anger, with unabashed hostility. Did you tell Dad? Why are you so selfish and vicious? Just because you're unhappy, You're going to force Lucia to leave the place where she's lived for so many years. She has nowhere else to go. Didn't you say that you thought of her as a sister, too? Is that how you think of her, as a sister? Talking about leaving in style, but engaging in these little maneuvers behind the scenes. Can it be that you can't let go of my Noah's family's riches? Mar, so that's what you came to me for. In that case, all Qin and Zhou-related cooperation is terminated. He had always been gentle, and every word at this moment was like an icy blade, piercing hard into my heart. All the good things that once existed have dissipated like a bubble. I force myself to calm down.
Noah.
I await the day you learn the truth. You'll see, your good sister. What's in the back of your mind? You can explain yourself on your father's side. Just don't regret it. And don't bother me again. Chapter 5 #. After the breakup, I threw myself headlong into work, trying to be paralyzed by busyness, and didn't even come home for weeks at a time. I didn't expect my mom to be thunderous and fire up the matchmaking bureau, saying she'd help me get in the mood for a change. I arrived at the Promise Cafe and sat down apprehensively. A surprised cheer suddenly came from her ears. Mar-senpai. I've heard from my mom that we went to the same school, and the Chung family is very influential in the city. Jose is lively in nature, chatting enthusiastically about her alma mater, the Academy of Fine Arts, with excitement in her eyes. I'm 2 years younger than you, a sister, and I'm actually still a fan of yours. I've seen your show and have a few pieces in my collection. I listened intently, my heart warming to the sincerity in his eyes. Generally, those who have a family business to succeed seem to choose finance as the way to go. Jose and I, on the other hand, both went with the flow and chose art and even started our own businesses. Come to think of it, we're kinda alike. He suddenly reddened and fidgeted. I didn't know the blind date was you, so I just threw on some random clothes to fool around. I usually take care of myself. I smiled softly. It's okay. Just be casual and be yourself. Slightly rushed, he asked, "There's a painting show at the art gallery on Friday. Can I invite you to come along?" When I hesitated, he darted out of his bag and handed me a stuffed animal. It's the cartoon bunny I was practicing drawing in the club. It came to me so watery. I especially like your idea of secretly making a collection. They would be a huge hit if they were produced. I looked down at the rabbit and was filled with joy. That's fine. I can give you authorization. Jose folded her arms and squinted up with a smile. Great. Dada really favors fans. Well, then I'll follow through on my fan favorites and I'll see you on Friday. Many days of gloom lifted and I laughed along. Soon it was the day I agreed to see the show with Jose. We immersed ourselves in the halls of art and discussed them eagerly. After the painting exhibition, Jose bought a lot of food on the street. He eyed the ice cream I had just picked up. I'm out of hands. Can you feed me a bite? I fed him a couple bites and got a paper towel to wipe him up good. He smiled contentedly, his eyes curving into crescent moons. Lucia approaches with Noah on her arm, and she stares at Jose in surprise. It's you. Do they know each other too? She pokes Noah in the waist and smiles a little smugly. I don't think Marsan likes you much either. So soon there's a new person on the side. Noah reprimanded her in a rare moment. Shut up and go home by yourself. His eyes were red, and he was dead set on the ice cream in my hand. Mar.
Who is he?
How do you? I pulled Jose up and left. Don't we still have to buy the new album? Just go. After walking a long way, I still vaguely felt a gaze following me. After thinking about it, I decided to talk to Jose about it. Jose, he's my ex, and I'm not in love with him anymore. It's just that it's going to take a little while to let go of the past completely. Honestly, I'm not actually ready to get married on a blind date so soon. He smiled indifferently. Me too. I haven't graduated yet, so no need to stress. It's good to get out and meet more people and make some friends. According to Mom and Dad, and the others.
It was a relief to hear him say that.
A flash of cunning flashed in his eyes, and the corner of his lips curled up. Why don't we play a game together to piss him off? Hashtag chapter 6 hashtag. I nodded. He took me to the clothing store and picked out a couple's outfit specifically. We rematched our makeup and accessories for each other. After changing into their respective outfits, he looked around me left and right, then suddenly picked up a brush and came closer. Eyes so focused that I unconsciously fantasized as if I were his whole world. He helped me add a frosting effect to the ends of my eyes and pulled me in front of the mirror for a selfie. He whispered in his ear, "Save up some souvenirs so you can account for them to your family." I nodded readily. The regret of missing out seems to have been made up for here again. I can't believe that the first official couple photo was taken with Jose. Noah used to love taking photos and documenting me and had a hard drive full of various photos and videos of me. However, they were broken long ago by a drunken Lucia. We also never had time to take a proper picture again. As soon as he raised his arm, he inadvertently saw a ring of frost hidden under the cuff of his sleeve. The gossip that had just been suppressed suddenly echoed in his ears. This must be boss's girlfriend, right? The eyes are glued to the others, but they do look so good together. I heard the dress was designed 2 years ago and has been kept alone in the inner room. Boss made an emergency call today and had it brought out on purpose. The heart instantly bulged. There's a guy who's been loving me silently for 2 years, and it doesn't bother me at all. After the shoot, he dropped me off in front of the house and left. Noah rose from the shadows and stumbled to pull me. "Mar, don't leave me." "Okay." "It kills me to see the way you're intimate with someone else's. Obviously, we were once so in love. Obviously, I was the only one you had eyes for. I was scared by Lucia that day, and I was so anxious and angry that I spoke only a little more heavily. It's my fault." I snorted out a laugh. "What are you doing here with me when you have Lucia just fine? It's not like all her troubles are gone when she lies in your arms and cries." "What are you talking about, Emir? I can't understand." I shoved him hard against the wall and just closed the door and went in. Can't give me full love and won't let me go. I only loathe him more. When he got up the next day, he was actually squatting in the doorway. "You're just jealous, aren't you? You're mad at me for being close to Lucia? That's why you said you were breaking up. That's why you're hanging out with that guy." "I don't care who he is."
"Mar, come back to me."
"Lucia is just a sister. If you don't like it, just help her find someone to marry." I couldn't help but ask rhetorically, "Sister? Your wonderful sister is not yours." Lucia got out of the car just in time and pulled him close. "Brother, why are you here? I've been waiting for you all night. Dad will be at the old house soon. Let's go back." Turning toward me again, he said in an uncertain manner, "Father has also invited you over, and Aunt Juan is there to discuss the withdrawal." Noah stiffened and looked toward me with red eyes. "Never mind. The two families still have many years of friendship and should always end it honorably."
"Mar,
"It's Uncle's poor parenting that has caused you to suffer." He flung at Noah the stack of pictures that Lucia had once shown me. "You did this. Hashtag chapter 7 hashtag. Only, the woman's face in the photo was coded. Lucia blanches and leaves, covering her stomach. Noah was full of surprise and panic. When was this taken?" "Dad, I had no idea." "Mar, I swear, never did anything wrong to you." Noah's dad urged me again. "Noah really likes you. Can you give him another chance for the sake of his complete ignorance?" He must have seen the original pictures and knew that Lucia took those pictures on purpose. Instead, they just reprimanded Noah and didn't mention Lucia's provocation at all. He obviously loved this adopted daughter. So, why wouldn't he fulfill her heart? Think she's not good enough for her son?
Or,
I always felt that there was a vortex, dark and dirty, that I shouldn't get involved in. My mom wrapped her arms around me and gave me silent support. I said seriously, "A mistake is a mistake. And if there is a first time to be counted, there is no guarantee that there won't be a second time. Noah is indecisive and sentimental. I'm the only one who will get hurt later. What every bride asks for is a unique love, not a love that is always divided and can be copied indefinitely. Being torn apart and misunderstood only means that he doesn't believe in me enough to love me. Uncle, my mind is made up, so you don't have to persuade me anymore. I turned and walked out. Behind her, Mom also threw the token of Noah's family on the table. Her voice a sound. Old Chow, you're really getting back on your feet. Your son is a treasure, and my daughter gets to suffer? Noah catches up with me from behind. Unique love.
Mar.
I seem to get it. The other day I saw you with someone in a couple's outfit for a photo shoot, and someone at the door complimented you on how well you look together. I almost rushed over to fight them. It was my fault. I shouldn't have left you to take pictures with Lucia. Going forward, I will cherish you. He was full of remorse and clutched my sleeve. Don't you understand? As long as she's around, there's no way I'll ever be happy. The corners of my mouth involuntarily lifted at the thought of Jose. Besides, I've met someone who loves me more. Someone who is full of nothing but me. Why would I look back at you? I mean what I say. I don't want you, and I don't care for the love you part with. No matter how remorseful you are, how you make amends. Within a few days, Lucia barged into my office and opened her mouth with a question. What the hell did you say to my brother? For the past few days, he's always said nothing and kept drinking. I've never seen him like this. You are really skillful in your methods. I have underestimated you. Her eyes were filled with anger. I was calm in my heart and spoke blandly. He couldn't leave you behind because he was soft-hearted and nostalgic. And will likewise, for that reason, be unable to forget me. You seem to have won, but in reality,
Like me?
you have lost. Lucia's face changes, angry with disgrace, and she violently scratches her nails through the bag, making a show of slamming it at me. I stood up straight and looked at her coldly. Pissing on my property. Want to figure out who you are? Once upon a time I put up with you a lot because of Noah. Right now, you're nothing. The security guards had been waiting outside and immediately stepped forward. Jose also rushed over and reprimanded her. Don't go crazy here. Get the hell out of here, or Noah can't protect you. She stared meaningfully at Jose. It seems that you're the one with the best tactics after all. Of the few of us, you got your wish. With that, he took off. Lucia, what does she mean by this? And what purpose does she serve? Hashtag chapter 8 hashtag. Seeing my puzzled face, Jose was busy explaining that pass toward me. Turns out Lucia knew he had a crush on me in college. Lucia has repeatedly urged him to join forces in an attempt to break up Noah and me, but they were all rejected by him. His eyes were sincere. You were in love then, and I watched you rejoice every day. I want you to be happy, and I'm not forcing myself to stand by your side. But I've been quietly following you, keeping your work and secretly creating clothing brands in your name again. I froze, my mind a little messed up. He smiled, full of tenderness. I just thought I was creating a dream for myself, but I never thought that there would be a day when you would walk into my dream. For a moment, I didn't know how to respond to this deep love. Jose laughed softly. You don't have to be pressured to give a reply. I'll take my time until you have me in your heart. He had always been open and honest, disdaining intrigue. He's been waiting in place, waiting for me to turn around one day and see his heart. I pondered for a moment and said seriously, Jose, let's get married. The Chung family manufacturing industry is second to none in the city, and Jose is the only son. He has a keen eye for execution, has started 2 companies before he even graduated, and is waiting for me again with all his heart. Whether it's for the Chin family or for yourself, I want nothing more than to be firmly chosen. I told my mom I was planning to get engaged next month. She was overjoyed. I'm so happy. I heard that the last time you tried on wedding dresses, Jose just happened to pass by and went back and secretly cried for 3 days. He was so angry He couldn't even eat. Jose, he is
Well,
childishly cute. Mom also told me something else about Noah's family. That Father Chow was so angry at Lucia that he was hospitalized and wasn't doing well. All these years, he still always misses you abroad, and I can't be free. So, why don't you go see him one last time on behalf of Mom? Lucia was sitting at the table peeling apples when I bought supplements and rushed to the hospital. As soon as she saw me, she rushed over like crazy and slammed everything out. Fuck off. I don't need you to pretend to be a good guy. I'm in this mess with Dad and the others. And it's all because of you. Father Zhou on the hospital bed looked very weak. Lucia, even if I die, I don't agree with you being together. Stop it. On what grounds? You ruined my mother's happiness. Isn't it only right that you now pay me back for your son? To tell you the truth, I'll never let Noah go. I've had my eye on him for a long time. I'll never find another one like that in my life, who has money and looks and loves me. Who am I to let go? Just because you rely on the Qin family? Father Zhou coughed violently and tried carefully. You know all about it? Your mother and I. She was so excited that she lost control and hissed as she held up the knife. She left my dad and me for you, and my dad was pissed off alive. He suffered stares and humiliation, carried sandbags for my education, and dragged his sick body through 5 years. And then she died.
2.
How dare you have the nerve to pick me up to redeem yourself? Ha ha ha, that's ridiculous too. You deserve all this now. This is retribution. My dad is waiting for you in heaven. After saying that, he violently stabbed at Father Zhou's arm. Father Zhou gasped for air. His eyes rolled over, and he collapsed heavily. Lucia panics and drops the knife to the floor. Noah just happens to come rushing in with the soup. She hugged Noah and came up for air and cried. Niani,
Dad, he
got pissed off at Sister Amar. Sister Amar refused to forgive you and said a lot of nasty things. You must avenge Dad's death. He was shocked by the blood on his arm and looked incredulously toward me. Without further hesitation, I pressed the bedside call bell and then called the police directly. I pulled out the cell phone in my pocket and waved it around. There are losses I'll only take once. How do you know I won't record them? Hashtag chapter 9, hashtag. She blanched and crouched down with some trembling. When the police arrived, I played the recording I had just made. Lucia stops getting away with it and kneels in front of Noah,
sobbing.
Brother, I was just mad. I'm angry that he doesn't love me and has to try to take me away from you. And I'm not happy about it. Noah pushes her away with one hand. I can no longer tell which of your statements is true and which is false.
Or,
you've been lying to me from start to finish. Seeing that Noah was even more indifferent, her tears kept welling up. Brother, I was wrong. And for your sake, I forgive him for what he did to my family. You don't want me, okay? At least, I've never wronged you. You're the only one in my heart. Noah turned his head to look at me with a sad expression. Which one of these things, from MER
to my dad,
has nothing to do with you? Do you want me to be completely alone before you can call it good? Who knows what you really ponder every day when you live under the same roof? He paused and lifted his steps toward the emergency room. I'm sure Dad doesn't want to pursue you, so go away. Take your things with you, and from now on Noah's family will have nothing more to do with you. The police didn't let her off that easy. According to the scene, you are suspected of intentional injury. The injured person is currently unconscious and needs to be brought back to the police station for further investigation. I hesitated and followed Noah. He bowed his head and sat on the bench. Mar, I didn't think you'd stay with me. I'm not doing this for you. I'm just helping my mom visit an old friend. He let out a bitter laugh. Well, unfortunately, am I not even qualified to be your friend anymore?
Noah.
I'm getting engaged in 10 days. In his eyes was unrelenting pain. I've fantasized about our wedding countless times. Don't say those words. You're just upset right now. I can't believe how much someone who can even part with my wedding dress can love me.
My fiancé.
Early on, designed dozens of scenarios for the wedding, waiting for me to pick. So you're happy with him and like him a lot, aren't you? Upon receiving my affirmative answer, he dropped a tear, his voice hoarse. I know, and I'll send my best wishes when the time comes. You go back, and I'll call my aunt to thank her when Dad gets better. And sorry, Lucia is still a real scourge, and the father and son of Noah's family will always have an ounce of pity for her. I heard that Joe's father woke up and asked for Lucia's bail in 100 different ways. Seeing Father Joe suddenly call me, I hesitated and picked up. Before she died, she told me you were my child. That's when I realized you existed. I've tried my best to make up for it. I'll give you all of my foreign properties. Will you let Noah go? He's your own brother. Always loved you so much. Even lost the mar for you. I was about to ask a question when Lucia's voice suddenly came on the other end of the line. How do I know? Are you lying to me? Kissing brother. That's pretty good. Why should your son grow up in fine clothes and honor? And the company is his to inherit. And I, scolded and beaten every day, subjected to cold stares and violence, watched both my parents die before my eyes. Father Joe rustled something out.
Go.
Take these, get out of here, and let go of all hatred. I'll send someone to put you on a plane. It took a while to slowly hear a low, deep, good. There was no more sound coming from there, so I guess it must have been a mistouch. Listening to Lucia, it doesn't sound like it's going to be easy to let go. This hint of guilt on the part of Joe's father could very well be the straw that breaks his own back. But they should pay for what they did anyway. We, on the other hand, are planning to take a break for 6 months after we get engaged and travel abroad to consummate our marriage. Jose is smiling and asks me, "Are you ready? My bride." #chapter 10, #. I'm all afraid that someone is going to come along and try to steal the most beautiful and touching bride in the world. I teased him. Is that the only good thing about me? Of course not. You're still the gentlest and kindest and toughest and smartest. And most of all, you're the only one I love. I also laughed. How can it be that good? Don't worry. I won't run away from the wedding. Remember to pick me up early the day after tomorrow. I've been busy all day with meetings and making arrangements for the period abroad. It was dark when I walked out of the office, and there were still a number of employees huddled outside. All working late? Why hasn't everyone left yet? I couldn't help but ask. At the sound of my voice, they quickly dispersed. I noticed that on that computer screen, there was a live stream of Noah's family headquarters playing. There's also a paternity test and an ambiguous photo taken by Lucia on the screen. Lucia, bruised and battered, is standing in front of the camera and accusing, "I'm going to expose Noah's family, Air Noah, for being a beast and bullying his own sister." Joe's father thought that revealing his life would make Lucia merciful, but he didn't know that it triggered a more violent counterattack instead. The live broadcast instantly exploded, with pop-ups and GIFs swiping nonstop. His father forced my parents to die and then adopted me under false pretenses, all behind the scenes full of conspiracy. When I learned the truth, I tried to avenge my father's death, but could do nothing about it, was driven away and put on a plane out of the country. I came back from 9 deaths just to expose their evil deeds. Noah arrives wearing a mask and surrounded by bodyguards. Lucia, I really didn't expect the photo to be of you. You took advantage of my drunkenness and engineered plausible photographs, took them out a couple of times to mess with me, and always created the illusion of depression jumping out of a building. I told you, going forward Noah's family has nothing to do with you anymore. It's just that I never knew that you were my own sister. No wonder before he left the country. He told me again and again to make sure he protected you. Daddy did everything for you and never meant to hurt you. And yet you're gracious enough to destroy Noah's family. So that's what this is all about. The live broadcast suddenly went black, leaving the screen densely packed with pop-ups in solidarity with Lucia. Sure enough, the rich family plays with flowers, and their own sister is not spared. No axe. In this case, I still believe in weak women. It must be thoroughly investigated. Boycott Noah's family and boycott the shoddy businesses and people in charge. I left in silence with mixed feelings. I've known for a long time that their attitude of unlimited tolerance begets disaster sooner or later. After Joe's father's health wasn't so good, he was only supported by Noah, whose family was already on shaky ground. If this matter is exploited, I am afraid that the storm will be unpredictable in the future. But what does that have to do with me? After all, I'm not the one to blame for all this. Whispers came from behind her in a trance. Isn't that Mar's boyfriend? He even picked her up from work last year with flowers in his arms. It's been broken up for a long time. Don't you realize that Mar and the only son of the Chung family are getting engaged tomorrow? What? I thought Noah was out of the picture for the near future after this fiasco. At the engagement ceremony, Jose and I exchanged rings with the blessing of the crowd. Noah in the corner is richly dressed and keeps his head down and keeps drinking. I walked over to him, and he stood up full of surprise. Mar, you finally came to see me. Chapter 11, Jose tugs nervously behind me, and I smile back at him soothingly, leading him to stand beside me. Upon seeing Jose at my side, Noah sits down as if in a dream, and sits down hastily. Noah pulls a gift box out of his bag and hands it to me. This is part of the dowry I had prepared. Now, send it to you as a dowry. I subconsciously refused. Keep it for yourself, if the company needs it. He stiffened it. Be happy all the time.
Mar.
He didn't dare to look at me. He only got up and shook hands with Jose. Congratulations. I wish you guys to join hands for a lifetime. Be happy until you grow old. And cherish it. Jose wrapped her arms tightly around my shoulders and smiled like a spring breeze. That's natural. I've got things to do. You guys go on. He turned and walked away, stumbling a little, looking at the gift box. At the top were real estate certificates for several busy parts of the city and a luxury hotel. I was a little hesitant. Should I give it back to him? It's okay. You take it, Mar. It's his blessing. In the future, when he gets married, we'll double it back. Perhaps the only way to put each other at ease is to accept this thought, sort of giving this past the clearest possible boundary to a new beginning. When we came back from our honeymoon abroad, my mom told me that Chao's father had died and Noah had left the country. Lucia joins forces with the opposite family to suppress Noah's family. And he's caught up in the public opinion hard, and his company is in jeopardy. And once again, Lucia threatened suicide to try to get him on a date to the beach. He responded, Mara's right. It was not supposed to be dragged into this mess. Threats only work because they care. But I don't care about you anymore. It doesn't matter if you're dead or alive. In this world, no one cares about you anymore. Lucia, I don't want to hate you, but you have to remember that the people who cared about you have left disappointed. You speak of retribution, perhaps? This is our karma. After hearing this, Lucia didn't cry or make a fuss, but actually jumped into the sea. He eventually sent someone to help collect Lucia's body. The remaining assets were then sold and flown overseas overnight. Listening to it all, I didn't feel the slightest bit of pleasure, only more relief. The hatred, the hurt, the pain that once existed has finally come to an end, like sand blown away by the sea. Nothing left. I was just getting emotional when Jose's voice pulled me back into my thoughts. Your Honor, look what I brought back. You'll love it. I'm walking out. He brought my favorite desserts and held up new products made from my designs. He smiled brightly, his eyes full of favor and care. Looking at him, I suddenly felt that all the past indignation seemed to have dissipated in this moment. He puts his things down and smiles as he looks down and kisses me lightly on the forehead. I am simply the luckiest man in the world to be married to you. I laughed and jumped into his arms.